Alright, so it's time for a whole story. In the last video, I was trying to get the 195 grain tip match king to 2,500 feet per second out of my 308. And at 43 grains of Vitavoria N150, we got it to 2455 with Starline small primer brass. And I thought, no problem, we'll switch to large primer brass, gain another 30, 40 feet per second, and then we'll be about there. And that'll be our load. Well, apparently there's a difference in case capacity between Starline small primer brass and Starline large primer brass, because when I switched to the large primer brass with the same 43 grain charge of N150, I started smashing the bullets, making a deep ring gouged into the ogive of the bullet, compressing the charge way too much. So basically, that's not going to work. And as you can see here, I've gone full Charlie from Pepe Sylvia conspiracy theorist mode by my workbench here. And in my frustration, I went to the store and picked up some Hodgdon Varget, which is generally considered one of the best 308 powders. And I do have some good news. So with a whole grain less powder, 42 grains instead of 43 grains with N150, 42 grains of Varget got me 2472 feet per second in the Starline large primer. And with Varget and the Starline brass, it all fit together much better, but still compressing the load and still getting a little bit of a ring around the bullets that you could see, but not really feel it with your fingernail, but it's definitely still there. And then I started thinking, Starline brass is sort of known for having thick case walls and a little bit less capacity than other brands of brass. So I dug around my workbench and I found some Norma once fired brass, 40 pieces of it from 2 boxes of factory ammo that I fired a while ago and saved it. And then I did a water capacity test. I took 5 pieces of Starline large primer brass and 5 pieces of Norma large primer brass, sized them, trimmed them, put some old used primers in there, and measured the capacity in water, and then did an average of the 5 pieces of each brass. And long story short, after averaging it out, the Norma held about a grain more water than the Starlight brass. So Varget, 195 Tip Match King, Norma brass should all fit together nicely. We should be able to tweak it and get to that 2,500 feet per second goal. And since case capacity has been a problem in this 195 grain bullet saga I've ended up going on, I think I'm going to try switching to the Winchester large primer instead of the Remington, because if you watched my primer test video, the Winchester primer gave us on average 20 more feet per second than all the other large rifle primer brands, and that should help get us to where we're trying to go without increasing powder charge or decreasing case capacity or anything like that. So it's free real estate. In the water capacity test, these Norma cases held 1 grain more water, but now that I've got the charges in here, I can't believe how much more room these actually hold in the Starline. If I can get that, way more room in there. Alright, I've got 40 pieces of this Norma brass, and charges are going to be 42, 42.1, and 42.2 grains. I'm going to be doing 3 13-shot groups, and that's going to give us a real good sample size and really finalize this load. Then I've got 1 case downloaded here with 36 grains of Varget, which is going to simulate a 300 to 500 yard shot roughly, and that's what we're going to shoot at the water jugs. Here's the 42 grain charge. Gonna get a little crunch because Varget tubular powder. So it used to be getting a deep groove gouged into the bullet, and it's not doing that anymore, but we are still getting a very faint ring that you can see there. You can't feel it with your fingernails just leaving a ring. So I guess that's just a incompatibility with the seating stem and the die and this bullet, but it should be fine. We've pretty much solved the problem. Here's 42.1 gains. No change. And ring looks about the same. And here's 42.2. No change. Ring's about the same. Y'all let me know in the comments below if you think this problem could be solved by some graphite neck lube, or if I should change seating stems. Alright, we got our three 13-shot groups, our one reduced load for the water jug test. I will see y'all at the range. Simulating 300 to 500 yards. Nice. 2,000 on the dot. Perfect. Alright, there's the recovered projectile from the second jug. So the 195 tip Match King, impacting the water jugs at around 1950 feet per second, retained 125 grains. Alright, back from the range, wrap up. This is 42 grains, a 13-shot group, 1.3 inches at 100 yards. This is 42.1, a 1.6 inch group, 13-shot group at 100 yards. And here is 42.2, and that's a 1.1 inch 13 shot group at 100 yards minus this flyer that I definitely pulled. So I tried my favorite primers, I tried my hottest primers. We tried the Starline small primer brass, the Starline large primer brass, and switched it up to the Norma large primer brass to cram in an extra 0.2 of a grain of powder. And we tried N150 and Stable Match and Varget, and I think we've done everything we can do here. 2465 feet per second average, verified by a 13 shot group, pretty good sample size. I don't think that we're going to be getting the 2500 out of a 16-inch barrel, and I'm pretty happy with that. 2465. It's still 1550 foot-pounds of energy at 500 yards. It's still 1900 feet per second at 500 yards, and that's everything I wanted to do. So no sense pushing it harder. I don't think we could anyway, and the only thing that would help this is getting a longer barrel. And a 1.1 inch 13 shot group at 100 yards is not too shabby. All in all, I'm happy with it. I'm going to take this 40 pieces of Norma brass. I've got 45 of these Tip Match Kings left. I'm going to load them up in here and use those for hunting season, most likely. And stay tuned in the next video. We're going to finalize this 168 grain Tip Match King load at 2700 feet per second, which will be a load that I can keep shooting because I can do 2700 feet per second in the Starline large primer brass with Varget, no problem. And I looked all over the internet and I can't find more Norma brass anywhere. It says discontinued and sold out, so once this brass is gone, it's pretty much gone. Because of that, I'll probably be running the 168 Tip Match King a lot in the future. And if you guys have any other bullet and powder suggestions, please put them in the comments below.